Accessibility settings. UI narration toggle. Item 1 of 6 unchecked. Speech to text toggle. Item 2 of 6. Read incoming chat messages toggle. Item 3 of 6. Subtitles scale combo box. Item 4 of 6. Subtitles combo box. Item 5 of 6 off. Item 3 of 3. Movie and in-game strong contrast mode toggle. Item 6 of 6. Unchecked. High contrast helps you distinguish between different screen elements.
Before Guillaume could join with his liege's army, he needed to gather his own men and organize them into fighting order. To do this, he first needed to get a lay of the land. A collection of large rocks caught Guillaume's eye. Wary of hidden threats, he decided to investigate. Guillaume discovered a recently abandoned camp. A closer look would determine which direction the men went. Happy knowing that his men were nearby, Guillaume refocused his attention. Guillaume set off in search of his men, scouting the surroundings as he moved.
Obeir est virtus, uth honor et force.
With each gallop of his horse's hooves, more of Guillaume's land was revealed to him.
A meilleur grand's glory. Avant chevauche.
Guillaume had found his spearmen. However, they would need to be organized and prepared for battle, after which he could continue searching for the rest of his forces. With his spearmen found, Guillaume was one step closer to reclaiming his dukedom. First, he would need to organize them under his command. Only then could he continue his search for the rest of his forces. He gathered his spearmen and coordinated them into proper rank and file.
Lanciers! Ps5. Bene!
Guillaume knew that his men would need to follow his every command in the coming battle, and so he assigned them as a group under his control. Guillaume's spearmen were now a respectable fighting unit. It was time to march on in search of more reinforcements.
Prêt suis pour Normandie.
Escoltez! Proximo meglio.
Pour André.
Ok, si,
Leggere chose est faire ce que dei.
si, ok, io.
Guillaume's cousin and treacherous rebel Guy de Bourgogne had erected a wooden palisade along the path in an attempt to halt Guillaume's progress. However, this was no problem for his spearmen, who destroyed it with ease.
Sist Pluton Treien seietes.
An enemy patrol had been scouting the area. Guillaume knew that his spearmen were the perfect counter and saw this as an opportunity to test their mettle.
Allons y referir.
With his spearmen now proven in battle, Guillaume and his men moved on. A group of enemy archers blocked Guillaume's path. He knew their long range would give them a distinct advantage over his spearmen. As luck would have it, a regiment of his loyal horsemen had been spotted close by.
Quiete, cavals!
Bene.
Guillaume once again proved he was a shrewd tactician. He knew his horsemen had the speed to run down and defeat the much slower archers. With his horsemen now battle-hardened, Guillaume focused on locating his own regiment of archers.
Venite, servientes! Ps5. Beneodite!
Guillaume found his archers hidden within a quiet village. They reported that a group of enemy spearmen were on their way to secure the area. Guillaume noticed the hill nearby and knew it would be a perfect spot for an ambush.
Préparate, archers! Archer, in avant!
Guillaume's plan once again proved true. His archers shot down the enemy spearmen from their strategic position. With his forces now gathered under his command, Guillaume prepared to rendezvous with his ally, King Henri I of France.
Quemandes, arco par arquier part.
Now bolstered by his liege's forces, Guillaume marched to battle.
Ps5 vous recommande.
The time had finally come. Guy and his rebel army stood in open defiance against the combined forces of Guillaume and King Henri. Guillaume had mastered numerous skills, and now it was time to put those skills to the test. Henri had granted Guillaume the right to initiate the attack, and on his order, the fight for his dukedom would begin.
Armamentesi, archer! Archer, in avant! Pardon, Pierre, si!
It was during this battle that Guillaume first demonstrated his prowess as a warrior of Viking descent. He single-handedly turned the tide of battle and inspired his men to victory.
French suit.
With his forces depleted, Guy de Brion was utterly defeated and fled. It was said that the dead were so numerous they floated downstream and clogged the local water wheel. It was this victory at Valesdune where Guillaume first displayed his militaristic genius and demonstrated his fighting prowess. It was here that he established himself as the undisputed Duke of Normandy. (1065), and Guillaume is marching west to deal with the last threat to his duchy, the Duke of Brittany Conan II. Château de Dinan was a formidable fortress and would need an impressive army to siege its walls and bring down the keep. Guillaume entrusted the raising of such an army to his wife, Mathilde de Flandre, Duchess of Normandy. First, Mathilde would need to gather resources, a job for her loyal villagers.
Spero.
Resources were essential in constructing buildings and producing units, and could be found all across the land. But Mathilde knew the most important resource to begin gathering was food.
Vacas. Ubi vado. Colones parats. Bene. Coligo. Comprendo.
Exploro?
Food was key in recruiting villagers and military units. More villagers would be required if she was to raise a large army. To do this, she turned to her town centre, an important landmark where new villagers could be recruited. Villagers could also construct a variety of military and economic buildings. Some of these buildings were used to make resource gathering more efficient, such as the mill.
Escolto.
Mathilde ordered construction of the mill close to the berry bushes as an alternative drop-off point for her villagers. Next was wood,
Finite.
a key resource in the construction of many buildings and essential to the success of any town. Mathilde constructed a lumber camp close to a forest, a good source of wood.
Si. Edifico.
With a healthy supply of food, the village could start to grow. To do so, it would need more hands to share the work.
Wood.
Escolto.
The town could no longer grow without additional homes. Mathilde ordered her villagers to construct new houses to accommodate the growing population.
Me?
Barats.
Orchestre. Escolti.
Ascolto.
Vassoio.
Ok.
Colonna Esperant. Quod. Seco. Me.
Further growth required knowing the countryside and finding more resources. For that, communities employed scouts.
Mandes? Parat. Vado! Simano! Escolto! Escolto!
Able to move quickly and see great distances, scouts were key to discovering new resources.
Si.
Ok! Fierté!
Mandemans.
Comprendo.
Capio.
Escolto. Capio.
It was time for Mathilde to begin gathering the resource that ruled the known world: gold. Fortunately, a gold vein could be found nearby, and Mathilde set her villagers to work mining it.
Che? Laburo.
With her food supply running low, Mathilde constructed farms to replace the depleted berry bushes. They would provide a constant supply of food.
Che? Laburo. Massone. Edifico. Paraz. Vado caver. Bene. Fegt! Mandements. Escolto. Spero. Si, laborans.
Spero. Laborans la terre.
Like all great leaders, Mathilde made expert use of local government. They aided her in organizing the villagers and assigned them roles within the settlement. Mathilde's small town was now thriving and ready to progress to the next age of prosperity. To mark the occasion and celebrate her villagers, Mathilde ordered the construction of a landmark.
Che?
Landmarks allowed a settlement to grow, granting access to more complex buildings and veteran units. The town had grown from just a handful of villages to a fully established settlement. Mathilde had erected a landmark, announcing to the land that this town was a blossoming settlement. It was the perfect platform from which to forge an army and launch a siege on Conan's castle. It was time to build an army. Mathilde had everything she needed to amass a force capable of bringing down the walls of Dinan. Mathilde was aware of Conan's powerful horsemen. She knew spearmen would prove to be a useful counter. They would make up the core of her army.
Six hommes. Quedme.
Quedme. Labour Spérance.
Parat Porvenir.
Vado Laboura!
Qued labour.
Vido, si. Parat Porvenir. Six hommes.
Labour sperti. Bene. Mondesqued.
Felice et beate.
Parat pour laboura. Buon labour.
Qued Labour?
Ah, felice et beat.
Parat pour Laboura.
Me plect.
Io ma sono la cosa. Caute a quel pappello. Buon lavoro, capere bene.
Tourna. Vale. Danke parat. Tourna. Danke parat. Vale. Tourna.
Mathilde then turned her attention to producing her own horsemen, a particular strength of the Normans.
Mondesqued. Vado Laboura.
Quedme.
Me plect.
Pace.
Benefect.
Desquite. Cavale parade. Les spasmes sont ici. Si. Oye, oye. Verdictif. Minimitraille.
Buon labour. Ah, felice et beat.
Cavallerio, parat. Qued ordines, a medio course. Qued parat. Cavallerio, parat. Qued mandes.
With the horsemen saddled and ready for war, Mathilde was confident they would be able to deal with any archer threat that may appear. Archers would be a useful tool to have in her own army, so Mathilde began the production of skilled bowmen.
Parats pour labourar. Io ma sono da cose. Bene effect.
Scara formata. Une avance, Cavallerio.
Pariez, être préparé. Valet.
Cavallerios, parat. A calque, Cavallerios. Quiete, caval.
Lanquier parat.
Parat. Si.
Arquier parat. Quemandes. Arquier parat. Arco parat. Quemandes.
Guillaume was accompanied by an unusual ally, the powerful Anglo-Saxon Earl, Harold Godwinson. They were met with a sprawling town and a mighty army. Mathilde had done her job as Duchess flawlessly, something Guillaume was very much used to. She would remain behind and efficiently run the settlement, while Guillaume marched against Conan.
Momentesi, Arquier.
Valet.
Guillaume knew this would not be an easy siege, but was confident in his forces and his own abilities as a leader. Guillaume and Harold set off to the castle of Dinan. This was the Chateau de Dinan, Conan's stronghold in Brittany. With its capture, Brittany would never be in a position to threaten Normandy again. To capture it, Guillaume needed to seize Conan, who had barricaded himself inside the keep atop the hill. He sounded the charge and laid siege to the keep. Brittany was no longer a threat. Mathilde's administrative expertise had once again proved essential to Guillaume's strength. Harold was rewarded with arms, men, and even a knighthood. According to Norman historians, it was here that Harold swore on holy relics to support Guillaume in his claim to the English throne. An oath sworn was a form of contract, recognized by law and church. Breaking one sworn upon a holy relic would be like breaking a contract with God, and thus have dire consequences. For now, it appeared that Guillaume had formed a strong alliance. However, it would not take long for it to lay in tatters. Guillaume and Harold would come to clash at one of the most infamous battles in history. It is January the 5th, 1066, and Edward the Confessor, King of England, is dead. Harold Godwinson, Earl of Wessex, is elected King of England the following day by the Witan. Harold also claimed that Edward named him his successor upon his deathbed. For Guillaume, this was an absolute betrayal. He believed the throne of England was his by right. He needed to ferry a massive army, with their supplies, armor, weapons and horses, across the body of water now known as the English Channel. He began construction of a dockyard capable of building his fleet.
Parats pour la bourrare. Cos'è la massonata? Vado la bourrare. Cursor obéissance. Félicite Béate.
Cursor obéissance.
With his fleet now built, Guillaume set about the momentous task of loading his forces.
Certezes. Attention. Mandement pièce. Matché. Escoltier. Oh, mandement pièce.
With the winds now more favorable, and reports of Harold's army marching north to fight off a Viking threat, Guillaume was finally ready to launch his invasion. He plotted his course and set sail for England. Norman historians tell us Guillaume received consent for the invasion from Pope Alexander II, thus making a conquest of England a holy mission. Guillaume would land at the old Roman fort of Pevensey. The Anglo-Saxons had taken up residence inside, but they would prove no match for Guillaume's trained soldiers. He landed his forces and took the settlement.
Serviettes. Attention. Si.
Quiete, cavalls.
Uth la Dieu merci. Ps5. Pour André. Lyon ennemi s'atteint. À l'ombre. Le souverain brillez, s'y arrête.
Wer Sultan!
Cavale parade. Respecté. Si. Oye, oye. En escouade.
Prête suis pour Normandie. Obéir est perfect.
The promise of land and riches in England had spread far and wide. Knights and mercenaries alike flocked to Guillaume's cause in the hopes of attaining great rewards. A large number arriving from the recently subdued Brittany.
Prête suis pour Normandie. Pour ucir brucia mon cheval. Urbe savant.
Auditez.
Dansez vostre commande. Dansez vostre commande. Denn hier in Juice ist schwer zu gedeihen. Ja, Sultan!
Guillaume now had a foothold in England. From here, he would have time to secure his location and resupply his forces before marching north and meeting Harold in battle. It would be at Senlac Hill that Guillaume, Duke of Normandy, would come to be forever known as William the Conqueror.